Well, welcome and thank you all for joining us this evening, and actually days to come. I'm sure we'll have some of you viewing this this week and maybe next week for Conifer Area Council's second virtual town hall meeting. I'd like to thank the Conifer Area Council Board of Directors first for your undying support of this Conifer community. You're the reason why we're here. And a very, very special thanks to Grant Automotive for their community support of tonight's town hall meeting. Before we begin, just a reminder to all of our speakers that you have been asked to present just the facts, not in support of or opposition to any development, campaign issue, candidate, or anything else. And we really want you to know how much we appreciate you joining us tonight. So thank you so much for that. So what is going on around here? Our Conifer Area Conifer Area Chamber, director and board have been staying really busy during the last several months. And Director Melanie Schweringen is going to talk a little bit about what's happening with the Conifer Area Chamber. Melanie.
Well, thank you, Shirley. It's great to be here. And yes, we have been very busy, and I appreciate Leslie Dahlkemper, our commissioner. She's been a huge help. Senator Tammy Story and Representative Lisa Cutter. I can't say enough about those ladies. They have a wonderful support system, so thank you very much. To start with, I have three things I really wanted to focus on tonight. The first was the funding that's available. Businesses have been hit incredibly hard, as I'm sure you all are aware, and we have been in the forefront of figuring out and helping businesses walk through the grant process or the funding process. Lately, we have been focused on a couple of the grants through Jefferson County. So Jefferson County has currently the PPE grant that's going on. So businesses, whether they're in the medical supply field and they need additional PPE, or if it's a restaurant that needs hand sanitizer or gloves, so many businesses need these supplies. And so Jefferson County has graciously been able to earmark some dollars from the CARES Act to provide these grants and the equipment. So you can go on to goconifer.com, and there is a link to the Jefferson County website that will take you directly to the application for the PPEs. So I'm encouraging all businesses to go and get what you can. We all need PPE over the next few months, just to make shopping easier, even if it's not necessarily a thing that you think you need a lot of. Just encourage businesses to take advantage of that. And then also the Energize Colorado Gap Fund, that was originally opened, I think, at the beginning of September, and Representative Lisa Cutter was one of the co-sponsors on that. So thank you for being a part of that. It's going to reopen at the beginning of October. I think October 4th is the date. So if you know of a business that's looking for some funding, that's a great place to start right now, as far as one of the opportunities available here in Colorado. And then coming up soon, hopefully we will be hearing from the county on the home-based business grant. So we've been working with them for a while now, and they've been, I think it's in the last phases with the legal, just making sure everything is ready to publish, and hopefully we can get that out the end of this week. So hopefully we'll hear something pretty soon on that, but that will be a huge support to those home-based businesses that haven't really been able to get a whole lot of support yet. The second thing I wanted to talk about was one of our local businesses, Blizzard Mountain Pinball, just now in the past week was able to reopen. So they have been closed since March, which as a business, you can imagine how devastating that is. So I'm encouraging as many people as possible to go in, socially distanced, of course, and buy gift cards, play some games, just support them to help them reopen and get some money back flowing through to help them with their business. And then lastly, the holiday events. Of course, 2020 has flipped us all around, and so we are going to flip our parade around, and we are going to have a South Pole parade. It will look very different this year, and details will come out from that, but we're taking portions of the parade and readjusting those. So we are working with nonprofit organizations to light up Conifer, and businesses have a some business lights working at their retail location. So details to come on that. The very beginning of October, we'll start pushing out all of the details and getting the information out. But be prepared to flip our parade and have a South Pole Christmas parade. And that is all for me. So thank you very much, Shirley.
Tell you, the Conifer area businesses are glad to have you. You have done an amazing job, so thank you for that. So next, we wanted to have you meet our new interim superintendent of Jeffco Schools. And here he is, Interim Superintendent Christopher Shue with Jefferson County Public Schools. Christopher.
Hi, everybody. Ms. Dahlkemper, it's a pleasure to see you. And I think Senator Story is right there. Hello, Senator Story, good to see you. And the rest of you folks, I used to be the principal of Evergreen Middle School, so maybe we ran across each other somewhere down the line. I was there from 2008 until 2013. So pleasure to be here. And I do have a presentation if you'd like me to give a presentation, or we could do question and answer. I don't know what you would like to do, but I'm prepared to deliver anything you'd like. As you might know, there's this little thing called COVID-19 happening here in the world, a little pandemic. So you probably also know that our schools in Colorado along the nation moved into 100% remote learning back in March. And we did make a pivot. There's Marcia Anker. Marcia Anker, Deputy Superintendent's coming on here. So hi, Marcia.
Finally got on. So sorry. Lisa Cutter. Hi. Tammy. Hi.
So we made the pivot into 100% remote learning, and then school year ended. We were not able to have high school graduations, which is kind of a bummer. But as we moved through the summer, we were able to have high school graduations. Just, we're pretty excited about that. So we were able to run the 23 different high school programs in Jeffco. I was able to go to 14 of them, so I had a blast doing that. But as the summer moved along, the rates in Jeffco kept dropping as far as positive rates. And because of that, we were able to open our schools in two different models. At the elementary model, if you don't know, we're at 100% return capacity. So all of our elementary students, kindergarten through 5th grade, are in school. And the health strategy there is all of our students and staff wear masks, and all of our students and staff at elementary wash their hands multiple times a day, and they're all in cohorts. And we're all typically familiar with cohorts. Just like when we were going to school, you go in, you've got that one classroom of kids, one teacher, and that's the model that we're using in Jeffco for that health strategy, is our students in that one cohort. If we do happen to have a positive student or a positive teacher, then just that cohort would go on quarantine or remote learning for 14 days. So that has happened, very few cases in Jeffco at the elementary level, but that is our model at the elementary level. At the secondary level, which is our middle schools and our high schools, and the 6th through 7th and 8th grade, we have a different strategy. Masks are required once again, but we're using a strategy called hybrid, which means a typical class has 30 kids in it, but in our model, only 15 students can be in class at a time. So what you might be used to is you walk into a high school classroom, there's 30 kids in that classroom. Well, if you walk into Conifer or Evergreen or West Jefferson Middle School or Evergreen Middle School, when you walk into class now, there's going to be about 12 to 15 kids in the classroom, and their desks are separated by 6 feet of social distancing, and they're wearing masks. And what you'll see is the teacher is teaching those 15 students in front of him or her and delivering the instruction, engaging them, and creating something cool. What you'll also see is a computer right next to them, and the remainder of their class is in a remote environment. So they're teaching that duality. So on Monday and Tuesday, that first group of kids or that A group cohort of kids could be in person, and that B group of kids is home on remote. And then on Wednesday and Thursday, they flip it. The B students are in person, and the A students are remote. And then on Fridays, it is 100% asynchronous learning, which means there is opportunities for students to finish makeup work or finish some kind of an assignment throughout the day, so they don't have to get on class at a certain time. So that is the model we're using. And here's the other part of it. If families choose to, they can also choose 100% remote learning, which means their students are always on remote, so they're not coming into school at all. And those students will be in a synchronous learning environment, which means they do have to get up in the morning, and at 8 o'clock, Their class does start, and they're going to be in a 90-minute block math class. They're going to have a 10-minute passing period where they walk around the house or whatever they do, and they start that next class for 90 minutes. So some of you folks might have children, grandchildren, neighbors in that environment, but that's what we're doing in Jeffco, is we've got the 100% in person for elementary, the hybrid for secondary, and then 100% remote option for all of our students in Jeffco. So that's the model that we're running. And Cherry Creek is also running that model, and Littleton is also running that model. And if you've been reading the paper, Denver's now starting to bring students back. St. Vrain and Boulder are now starting to bring students back as well. But I also want you to know that the positivity rate in Jeffco is increasing. I track it every single day, as you might imagine. We were looking really good before Labor Day. We were decreasing so much. We were looking at a point that we can move into the third phase, which is the protect our neighbor phase. They're stay at home, safer at home, and protect our neighbors. We were in level 2. There's 3 levels of safer at home. We were in level 2. We were at 331 positive cases over 14 days. But on the Saturday before Labor Day, start going up. So we went from 10 cases a day on the Saturday before Labor Day to 33 a day. We went from 331, now we're back up to 380, and we're increasing. So people are getting way more comfortable. People probably aren't wearing masks as much, and we are inside more because it's getting cooler and colder at night. So these are the kind of things that we will continue to work through and mitigate. But we are seeing increasing positive cases in our schools, which is always concerning, because if you are a parent and you're excited about your kid going to school, as I am, because my wife's sitting right next to me, she's a teacher in Jeffco. We have 2 kids in Jeffco. We love the fact our kids are going to school. But if there is a positive case, we're going to have to shift. They're going to have to be home, and we're probably going to have to be home with them. So this is that shaky ground that we are on in Jeffco. And as much as people are excited about having our students back, they have to be ready for a pivot. And I can tell you all, if you had a child that was riding a bus, you got a letter from us last week saying that we had a positive case at our transportation department. And for 14 days, our transportation department needs to be quarantined. So we cannot run buses out of the Western Terminal for 2 weeks. So there's the reality of that happening. You can imagine when somebody is positive, whether it's a student or a staff member, there's very stressful for them. There's a lot of guilt that comes along with that too, not to mention the fact that they're feeling terrible. The other piece of information I want you to know is our percentage. We did have a survey this summer, and we asked families to choose. Would you like your children to be back at in person or 100% remote? Our survey data, when we were all said and done, we were at, what was the data here? 73% of our families chose in person. We have 85,000 families. 73% of them wanted in person. It's another reason why our board said there's no way you're going 100% remote, not when 73% of our families want in person. So the remainder of those students, anywhere around those percentages, around 27, 26%, are 100% remote. As we move into the end of the trimester for elementaries in November and the semester for our high schools around winter break, we will be saying to families, are you looking for a change because of health concerns, because of multi-generational families, because of the fact that you can no longer teach your teenager math and you're sick and tired of her and you want her back in school. We want to offer families that opportunity to change their preference. As you can imagine, it is a beautiful puzzle piece we put together right now with teachers that want to be remote and families that want to be remote and vice versa to make it work. And as soon as we open it up to families again, and there's George Stern, and for all I know, George Stern has 6 kids, and there are 6 tuplets over at West Jefferson Middle School, I don't know, but so he makes the decision that 3 are going to change and 3 are going to change. West Jefferson Middle School has to make that move for Mr. Stern. So that's what we're getting people ready for that. We're getting our schools ready for that. We want to be the school district that can adapt and we can offer the type of learning environment that our families want. But just know this is going to be another difficult switch as we get ready to move into this. So that's the part about our schools. Marsh, anything you want to add around the structure? And I'll talk a little bit about bonds and things like that.
No, I think that you've captured it.
All right. So just so you folks know, if you get on our website, we have all kinds of resources on our website. It is well done. We have a tremendous communications department. Tammy Schiff is the chief communications officer. We have a new dial that we put on the website. You can get on there and you can see where positive cases are in all of our schools, all 163 of our sites. and you can see if there's a positive, and you can see how many we have at high schools, middle schools, elementary schools, and where they are. It's about 24 hours behind. You can imagine, because if we do have a positive case at a high school, we need to inform the families first and the staff first and get that all settled. Then we'll go ahead and send that out to the rest of the community. But that's something you can watch and just see how well we're doing here in Jeffco. So the website is pretty good. The fun stuff we have going on is, I talked about graduation. That was a huge celebration. And I have to tell you, it was fun for me because I became the interim superintendent, and then I'm being introduced at all these graduations as the interim superintendent. People are clapping. I was even called Dr. Shu a couple of times. I do not have a PhD, a couple of master's degrees, but that does not count. But it was kind of fun being called. I got a feeling that Leslie Dahlkemper is a doctor. I don't know why, but I'm not yet. So that was fun. The other thing is, we are very excited that our government has created a program where all of our students can eat for free in our schools. So any student can go in and do a grab-and-go breakfast or grab-and-go lunch, and it's absolutely free, and our federal government reimburses us. So as we tend to be critical of our federal government once in a while, that's a huge praise for USDA. Also want to recognize Beth Wallace, who is Executive Director of Food Services. She's actually the president of the organization that works with USDA, so she helped make that happen. So it's great that our families can send their kids to school. They go through and grab a lunch for breakfast, go back to their room and eat it, and parents don't have to worry about packing lunches if they don't want to. We also have some celebrations about schools. Foster K-8 is a dual language school in Jeffco. It's an option school. So if you want to, you can transport, or we can transport your child to foster, and then they can become bilingual in Spanish and English. So excited about that. We do have another school in Jeffco that's become an option school, and that's Vivian. It's a school in Wheat Ridge. It is now a classical academy, which means if you're a parent who's looking for more of the traditional learning, you want your child to learn Latin, you want them to read the classics, you want them to wear a uniform, we have that option in Jeffco now. So you can choice enroll your child in that school. Warren Tech South, because of the bond that you all passed in 2018, whether you voted for it or not, I like to say thank you for that. And people typically chuckle and say, Christopher, I didn't vote for that. And I say, thank you anyway. So we are building our Warren Tech campus. If you don't know about Warren Tech, we are nationally known. Our students can go to Warren Tech. Many of you might have eaten lunch there. Hopefully when we open back up again, you will go for lunch and breakfast. But our students go, they obtain their industry certifications. They leave that school with credit towards Red Rocks and associate's degrees. They go off into the workforce making way more money than I made my first year as a teacher in Wisconsin, making $15,000 a year in 1992. So I guarantee you my daughter will graduate making way more than that. Maybe I should do that. So we will open a new campus because of the bond off of the Dakota Ridge High School site. It's Warren Tech South. The big exciting feature there is an aeronautics program. We will have an airplane hangar. Lisa's like, yay! We are building an airplane hangar in the school, and our students will learn all around aeronautics, the industry, how to repair a plane. And you can imagine, we will have students that will graduate from high school. They will go right into the industry, and probably that company will pay for their college education. But once again, they will make way more money than I did teaching in Wausau, Wisconsin in 1992. So we're excited about those things. Outdoor lab. Who here went to outdoor lab? Do you have any outdoor lab kids? I don't know, no hands up. Usually I get some hands. So outdoor lab is a huge feature of Jefferson County, and many of you donate to it. There is a fundraising event happening on October 9th. I will be at that. And we have 2 sites, and this is the highlight of the 6th grade year. And our students go for an entire week, and they stay overnight. My daughter cried her way all the way up there. By the time she got there, she loved it. Then she went back a couple weeks later for a high potential week, and now she wants to be a high school leader next year when she's a junior. So something snapped and switched in her that week. It was that big of a deal. So we can no longer do overnights, which is kind of a drag, but we are bringing our 6th graders up for a full day experience, 2 days during that week. And it's the best about their lab. So it's archery, it's the planted hike, it's the pizza and the chicken nuggets and all the best meals and the spaghetti. So we are getting our kids up there all year long. We can't stay overnight, but once again, it's 2 full days, and we are prorating that. So those are just some of the fun things that are happening in Jeffco, despite everything that's happening. What I like to say is we're not going to get through COVID, we're going to thrive within it. And because of the community and the great staff we have, we continue to thrive in that. So
Thank you so much.
you bet.
That was amazing information. I had no idea everything you were doing, so thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, we've been getting lots of questions from Conifer area residents. They're asking, is Conifer ever going to get normal library services? And Jessica Paulson, who is the Public Services Manager of Jeffco Mountain Libraries, is here to talk about that. Jessica.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for letting me join you this evening. I appreciate it. As was just stated, I'm Jessica Paulson and I manage the Conifer and Evergreen libraries. So there have been lots of questions and I'm hoping I can answer some of those tonight. And we do really appreciate all of the engagement that we see from the Conifer community. So as we all know, the pandemic changed everyone's plans. We were really looking forward to summer programs and events, summer reading, Raise a Reader, and then all of that changed in March when Conifer High School had to close, which happens to be where Conifer Library is housed. So throughout the closure, we were in contact with our school authorities, and we're working to ensure that the safety of our patrons, of our staff, and the Conifer High School members were the highest priority. And for a lot of this time, the library was considered an outside group, and so we weren't actually able to use the space for public library services. But recently that has changed. In September, we opened the returns bin at Conifer High School, and we are also working on plans to reopen Conifer Library for walk-in services. And this is planned for early October. So within a couple of weeks, we are hoping to be able to open our doors. We do expect there will be some differences in our entry requirements from our other JCPL locations. We need to align our procedures to those that are established for schools. And so we'll be sharing more of that information as it's finalized. So to stay in the know, please sign up for the monthly newsletter on our website. And then also, just so you all know, our digital services are available to everyone. So patrons can check out library materials via their technology, phone, tablet, computer, whatever they prefer. We offer book a librarian appointments for anyone who wants some help with a project that they're working on, whether it's business help, technology assistance, research or job searching, or really anything else. And then we're also doing all of our programming virtually right now, and nothing is happening in person on site. So if you are interested in our programming, keep an eye on our website and our social media channels to get involved there. So to recap, we are going to continue to evaluate and explore options for services in Conifer. We really appreciate your patience. I know the closure has been hard on everyone, and we're really happy to prepare for reopening. We're excited to be open again soon, and I am really hoping that I'll be able to see you in October.
Thank you so much, Jessica. That's great news. There will be a lot of people that will be very happy about that.
We are too. We're looking forward to it.
Great. So Conifer Area Council has been working with Jeffco Open Space on developing a trail system for about 15 years now. Long time, and we are so excited to report that there are more trails in the works. Sophie Katz, she's the Trails Program Coordinator with Jeffco Open Space, is now going to be giving a report about that. So Sophie.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Sophie Katz. Thanks for the introduction, Shirley. I'm the Trails Program Coordinator at Jeffco Open Space, and I'm going to talk to you about two different kind of planning documents that we are coming out with or have come out with that you should be aware of. The first one is the Jeffco Trails Plan. We are so close to the finish line. It is set to pass through and be adopted by the Board of County Commissioners in just 2 weeks. Commissioner Dahlkemper, she knows all about it. And so really the vision of this plan is to create a healthier and engaged community connected by trails. We're looking at all of Jefferson County, not just Jeffco Open Space parks. So we're looking, how can we build connections between parks? How can we build connections, trail connections for biking and walking to transit centers, businesses, and things like that, schools. So there are three kind of main goals through the plan: is to improve those connections, increase equitable access. So especially we've kind of split the county in half. The plains areas, so anywhere east of C-470 and Highway 93, and then the mountains areas, which is west. So for you guys, we're looking at a 10-minute drive to a park. We want everybody to have access to a park or trail within a 10-minute drive in the mountains areas. For the plains areas, it's a 10-minute walk, and that's just because things are way more spread out in the mountains. And so to do that, we've got to build more trails. And then also to create safer experiences for everyone. So whether that's it's mostly just improving trail crossings where trails might cross busy roads or go nearby roads with high speeds. So in Conifer, we have about 5 or 6. Since I don't have much time, I'm not going to go through each trail, but I definitely encourage you to check out the Jeffco Trails Plan. It will be posted on as soon as it passes through the Board of County Commissioners. So it's set to go on October 6th. So I will be sure to be in touch with Shirley and make sure that link goes out to you guys so you can view where those ones are. Some big ones that I know are important to the Conifer Area Council that we worked together on are, let's see, it was Beaver Ranch to Reynolds connection. We're looking at an Evergreen to Conifer connection. Let's see. And then switching gears here, so outside of the Jeffco Trails Plan, we are looking at a Flying J Park to Meyer Park connection. So that one is actually on the Conservation Green Print. The Jeffco Conservation Green Print is published and it is online, and you can just probably Google Jeffco Conservation Green Print and you'll be able to find it really quick. And that's our 5-year master plan. And so that details out our trails within our parks. However, we kind of counted that Flying J to Meyer because we're able to do a lot of it within parkland. So that one's set to be built and complete. I think we're starting planning in 2023, but completed in 2025. So you can find those details on there as well. So really the difference between these two plans, Conservation Green Print, master plan within open space parks, Jeffco Trails Plan are kind of a trails master plan in the entire county, not just open space parks. And so the real key difference there is how the implementation happens. Anything in the Conservation Green Print, open space is committed to building and completing. Anything in the Jeffco Trails Plan, however, will be largely led by community groups and partnering agencies like the Conifer Area Council to kind of help us get funding. We have some funding and we can help and support some of these trails, but we can't build all of them ourselves, especially because they're not on our land. They're between our parks, they're not in our parks. So that is all I have for you tonight. I'll make sure to send it, I know, 4 minutes exactly. I'll be sure to send it out. Oh, that was my timer, not yours, sorry. I was like, why is it beeping? I set a timer for you, Shirley. So I'll be sure to send out those links so you guys can all kind of review those and my contact information so you can ask me any questions.
Thank you, Sophie. That's great news. We really appreciate that. So next, you can actually go to coniferareacouncil.org to find the latest Conifer development list. And Heather's here tonight, too, to talk about what developments are in the planning stages at the county. There's a lot going on, as always. So, Heather, what's going on?
There's a lot going on with planning and zoning, not just with development cases, but there are a couple other things that I wanted to let everyone know about as well. So just as general updates, with planning and zoning's volume of work, it was really interesting with COVID. We thought things would really slow down, but what we found is that we're having a really busy summer where our permit numbers are keeping up with where they were last year. So we continue to stay busy. And I know there's some planners that are just waiting for the snow to fly so we can get really caught up on other things. I also wanted to give a brief update on the water policy analysis in the comprehensive master plan. I know that that is a project that some people have been keeping an eye on. It did get a little bit delayed, but we are still going on that, and we will notify interested parties when a hearing has been scheduled. I also want to let people know that Planning and Zoning is continuing to participate in Commissioner Dahlkemper's Wildfire Risk Reduction Task Force. And one item that has come out of this is that we are going to be looking at regulation updates for our defensible space regulations, which I'm going to talk about in another slide. Or actually, I don't have slides. They will be on a slide when in the link with this presentation. I also wanted to let people know as a heads up that we are taking people in our office by appointment only, and we want to do that to make sure that we have appropriate spacing in our lobby. So if you do need to come in to speak with a planner, please get on our website and make an appointment before you come in. We also have virtual appointments. So if you're up in the mountains and you don't want to drive all the way down to Golden to talk to a planner, we now offer virtual appointments, which is very convenient. As far as some regulation updates, the short-term rentals regulation update, that was put on hold because of COVID in April. We were about to start some meetings and then everything shut down, but we are looking at restarting that process before the end of the year. We're looking at doing a survey and some virtual meetings to get more input about short-term rentals. Like I said before, we are also doing some other regulation updates, including updating defensible space regulations. The big part of that update would be that we are proposing a defensible space review for all structures, attached or detached, and any additions. Right now, our defensible space requirements only apply to residential living space when somebody is adding 400 square feet or more. So this would broaden when defensible space review is needed. And with the update, we're also looking at changing parameters for relief from zoning standards. So this is kind of on a different track. But for example, if somebody wanted to construct a building with lesser setbacks than what we would require, we're looking at possible changes to that process with some different parameters. As far as the actual development proposals, we are looking at 26 cases, which is 2 less than in April. I'm only going to talk about 7 of the cases tonight that are new or have been updated since April. The first one that I wanted to talk about is a pre-application. And just to give people a reminder, a pre-application is a very, very preliminary request. An owner of a property may say, kind of thinking about doing this with my property. I need to find out what I would need to do in order to do that. So Planning and Zoning looks at the application generally, and we can give somebody an idea of what the big issues are that they might encounter. Do they probably, does it comply with the comprehensive master plan, things like that. And about 40 to 50% of the pre-applications don't move forward. I recently saw on a Nextdoor post that somebody called this a pre-approval process, and it is not that at all. It is something where we look at all of the issues, and as you can tell by the response rate, it is definitely not pre-approval of these projects. There isn't any public notice for pre-applications because they are so preliminary, and we really rely on the formal application, if they actually do decide to move forward, to get that public notice out. The first one that I wanted to let everyone know about is a property at 7889 South Turkey Creek Road, which is approximately the northwest corner of South Turkey Creek Road and South Deer Creek Canyon Road. And the pre-application proposal was to rezone a property that was a little less than 1/4 of an acre from agricultural to commercial uses for a maintenance shop. In that area, the plan recommends an area of stability, so basically kind of keep it the way it is right now. Oh, I also wanted to let people know that in the slides that will be attached, the case manager for each of these cases is listed with their contact information. Next, I want to talk about rezonings that are going on and have updates to them. So, and a refresher for what a rezoning is, it is a process that somebody has to go through when they want to change the uses on their property. So if somebody wants to go from a residential use to a commercial use, they have to go through an extensive rezoning process. And there are 3 points in the rezoning process where there's public notification. The first is our community meeting. The community meeting is a meeting that occurs before a formal application can occur. There's notice to homeowners associations, adjacent property owners, and then there are also signs that are on the property. There is a meeting, and that's the people to give input on the case. Then there are also formal applications where when somebody submits their formal application, there is another mailed and emailed notification that goes out. There's not a meeting, but people are more than welcome to submit comments to the case manager. The last point where there is notification in the process is for the public hearings. There are 2 public hearings. One is the Planning Commission, and the other is the Board of County Commissioners. Again, there's notice sent out and signs posted on the property, and there's also a chance to testify at each of those public hearings. The Board of County Commissioners does make the final decision on rezoning cases. So the first rezoning case that I wanted to talk about was Conifer Commons. I know that's a big one. That is the proposal to allow 188 residential units and 20,000 square feet of commercial space on approximately 70 acres just east of the Safeway in Conifer. There was a community meeting that was reheld in May of 2020. They had to do 2 community meetings because of the timing of that case. And then they submitted their formal application. It just completed the first referral, and so the case manager has sent comments back to the applicant, and they have a chance now to address those comments. In this area, the plan recommends residential with a maximum of 4 homes per acre. The next rezoning case that I wanted to talk about was the Conifer Church of Christ rezoning, and this is the property that is just adjacent to the park and ride along 285, just east of Richmond Hill Road. And it is a rezoning to allow a larger church building than what is currently allowed by the zoning. It's 1.3 acres, and this case actually was approved by the Board of County Commissioners since the last Conifer Area Council meeting. It was approved on June 30th, 2020. The plan did recommend isolated existing non-residential for that area, and so this did comply with the plan recommendation. The next case that I wanted to talk about was the Center at Conifer Junction, and it is a rezoning proposal that is behind the old Safeway, just west of now Staples, and there's other commercial properties there off of Kitty Drive. And the proposal is to allow community-level commercial uses, additional light manufacturing and storage uses. It's on about 5.5 acres. Since the last meeting, this has gone from the first referral to the 3rd referral, so they are moving along, and the plan recommends neighborhood commercial. The last rezoning case that I wanted to give an update on is the Aspen Park Auto Parts Store. This is just south of the Big R in Aspen Park, and the proposal is to amend the existing zoning to allow a larger auto parts store. An auto parts store is allowed, but not at the size being requested. It is 0.89 acres, and they just recently completed their first referral. The plan recommends neighborhood commercial or residential in this area. There's also a development for a site development plan case. So site development plan cases are those cases where the uses have already been established, so staff does not review whether or not the uses are appropriate. We just look at how the site will be constructed: architecture, landscaping, lighting, transportation, and because more like how things are constructed, this is an administrative review, no public hearings, the decision is made by the planning director. The case that I wanted to give an update on is the Emmaus Site Development Plan. This was to construct an adult retreat and conference center near Schieffer's Crossing on about 244 acres. And that case was actually withdrawn in April, so that is no longer moving forward in the process. Those are all the updates I have for everyone. Thank you for your time today. And I have all of my contact information and other case managers will be on the PowerPoint presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Heather. We really appreciate that. There's a lot going on, so we need to keep updated on that. We've had wildfires across the western United States, smoke causing health issues and mitigation efforts. There's just all kinds of things happening that the fire departments are having to deal with right now. So we have Chief Jacob Ware here. He's going to talk just a little bit to give an update about Elk Creek Fire Department. Jacob.
All right. Hi, everybody. Yes, it's been quite a year. After a slow start in March and April, our call volume was down significantly when the pandemic really kind of took hold and everybody was at home. We actually had a record slow month with only 60 runs, which is the slowest month we've had probably since I've been around here. It's come back significantly. Right now, we're sitting right around 1,000 calls for 2020. We still have all of our COVID precautions in place. We are still utilizing PPE on any calls that have suspected COVID symptoms. And we also have our fire stations closed to the public or open for extremely limited use. People can come in and see the fire marshal via appointment, but we don't have station tours. We're not allowing public meetings, anything like that in the buildings. We're monitoring the situation in the county and the state, and we're going to see kind of how this goes. Hopefully we can open everything back up sooner rather than later, but we just kind of have to see how it goes. Wildland fire season. Wildland fire season has been quite a year in Colorado. I believe 2 or 3 of the top 5 largest fires in Colorado were this year. It's really been, the smoke impact here on the Front Range and in Conifer has been unbelievable, probably the worst I've ever, that I can remember. It's been, we had higher fire danger here in our district for a number of weeks. Now that it's finally moderated, we have actually been able to send out resources again. We've got some firefighters in Oregon right now on the Beachy Creek fire. And we also have some firefighters up on Cameron Peak and some other firefighters in California assisting other districts with their fires. We also have a Wildfire Prepared, our home assessment mitigation program. We launched this program in conjunction with Evergreen Fire. And what this is you can apply on our website and turn an application, and basically I say apply, everybody gets approved, you get put in a queue, and we'll send out one of our assessors and they can do a mitigation assessment on your home and your property. While all of our districts have had a program like this in place in the past, there really hasn't been a lot of continuity of information. So what this program does is between us and Evergreen, and it's actually branching out to some of the other fire departments, we're all using the same program. So there's going to be a continuity of information, and all the data given to everybody will be the same. So it'll actually start, it'll start building a good database, and it actually provides a bunch of actionable data for the property owner. We've had great feedback from the people that have already done it. I think we've completed 25 assessments, and we've got another 30, I do believe 36 on the books that are being scheduled right now. Our chipping program is going really well. Last year we had some hiccups. We became victims of our own success. This year we kind of limited the openings to 300. Right now we're at 248 properties chipped, and we are looking at completing the initial 300 by the end of October. And then what we're going to do is we're going to open the program up again. So for the online sign up, we're going to open it up in blocks of 20 to 25 properties and then close it. What we don't want to do is get hamstrung by winter. Once weather comes in, it's just not a good time to chip. Driving the chip truck around and having our crews working out in the snow, it's just not safe and it's really inefficient. So we're going to open it up in smaller blocks as long as the weather allows so we can continue the program through winter. And the last bit that I have to talk about is we are going to have a fire academy. So if you or anybody else you know is interested in becoming a volunteer firefighter, keep an eye on our social media. We'll be taking applications here in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you, Jacob, so much. And next we have Skip Sherlaw, who is the fire chief of Inner Canyon Fire Department. Skip.
Thank you, Shirley. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, as Chief Ware said, it's obviously a really interesting year for all of us. We're in unprecedented times, and we're all learning as we go, certainly. We, too, saw initially a big decrease in our call volume, record lows for us. That changed in the last 3 months. We're actually seeing record high number of calls, and it ranges everything. Sorry, my clock's going off there. It ranges in everything from wildland, EMS, across the board. We have seen pretty significant fires for our district in the last few months. We've had 5 different fires. And as Jacob said, it's a pretty high fire danger right now. And to have these fires in our district is pretty scary. We've had 2 wildland grass fires down in Deer Creek Mesa, which is on the eastern portion of our district. We were able to get those out pretty quick. We've additionally had a car fire in Deer Creek Canyon, which is probably our heaviest fueled area and makes us very nervous. We had a barn fire, and then this week we had a structure fire. All of these occurred, luckily, the fires minus the wildland occurred at night when relative humidity was low, temperatures were down, and winds were down. Had they occurred midday, we may have been looking at several thousand acres that may have burned. So we were very lucky with the weather. That helped us quite a bit. As Chief Ware stated, with COVID, it definitely puts some challenges to us as we address these calls, EMS calls and fire calls. We have every single one of our members in at least an N95 mask, along with gloves and eye protection and sometimes Tyvek suits. It's a big reduction in communication and mobility, and it is quite a challenge for us as we move along. We have been able to procure enough personal protective equipment, and our burn rate is matching our inventory pretty well at this point in time, so we're doing well, but we are concerned about where the numbers are going to go in the fall, and we're looking at 2021 continuing that same level of protection for our members. We do have some pretty big projects coming up in the next year. We have a communications project. We have one of our towers was hit twice by lightning last year. One right before the Deer Creek Canyon Park fire, which limited any communication we had and put our firefighters at risk. So we're going to be revamping our entire communication system in the next year, planning to be done with that by summer of 2021. Additionally, we're looking to rebuild 2 of our stations as we move down the line. We know that where we're at right now is not where we need to be in 5 years and in 15 years. We know that we definitely have to prepare for that future. So we're putting in the time and the effort and the money now to prepare our future district and our future members and give them the adequate resources that we need moving forward. We will be having public meetings on both the communication system we're putting forth and our 2 stations in the next probably 3 to 4 months as we move along. We are looking to follow suit with Elk Creek and Evergreen in their chipping program. It's proved to be extremely successful, and we're very thankful to Chief Ware and his crew for working out all the bugs so we can learn from any things they had along the way to make this successful. We plan to work very extensively with Elk Creek along with this project. It's a wonderful program that shows immediate results from people's work and mitigation, and it's a great way to reduce the fuels in our community. Besides that, we are having a great response from all our volunteers. We're seeing not only a record number of calls, but we're seeing a record number of response from volunteers in our department. We are mainly a volunteer department. There are 4 of us that are paid, with the rest are volunteers. So that means a fire this Monday that lasted about 20 hours was done mainly by volunteers, along with our neighboring districts, Elk Creek, Indian Hills, and Evergreen, with a tremendous amount of help. But I'm very proud of our members and very honored to be allowed to work with them. They're an incredible group. Other than that, we are keeping our eyes on the numbers with COVID as we move along into the fall and into the winter, and seeing what adjustments we need to make with that. We're working with our EMS educators to make sure that we're up to date on any of the newest issues that we may see with that, and make sure that our volunteers are protected with the proper personal protective equipment. I'm stopping 40 seconds shy, so thank you. Everybody have a great evening, and it's wonderful to see everyone.
Thank you, Skip. Great presentation. I think it's our turn now for all of us to mitigate our own properties from wildfire risk. with everything that's going on out there. So, okay. So another question that we've been getting a lot of is, how can I guarantee that my vote will be counted? So we have asked Jeffco Clerk and Recorder George Stern to join us to talk a little bit about that. He's with the Jeffco Clerk and Recorder's Office. George.
Thank you so much. So yes, I'm your elected clerk and recorder here in Jefferson County, which means my team and I run all of our elections in Jeffco, from the presidential race that's 6 weeks out to any local races as well. And I want to just give you a quick overview of our election model to answer the question you asked, and then some key dates and what we all can do to make sure our votes are counted in the coming weeks. So we vote by mail here in Colorado. We have for 7 years universally. We have since the 1990s by choice if we wanted to. And it's a system that has enjoyed broad bipartisan support. Republican and Democratic secretaries of state have run it. Republican and Democratic clerk and recorders run it today and support it. And Republican and Democrats use it in equal numbers. And so it is truly a system without politics here in Colorado, unique from what we're seeing otherwise. And it has such broad bipartisan support because it is accessible. It's dramatically increased our turnout and makes Colorado consistently among the highest turnout states in the country. It's efficient. We actually save money running elections like this. And then most importantly, it's secure. So we've been called by experts on both ends of the political spectrum the safest state in the country to cast a ballot. Everyone from President Trump's former Homeland Security Secretary to the Washington Post have called Colorado the safest state in the country to cast a ballot because of the security measures we have. From being entirely paper-based, right? A mail system is paper-based. From verifying the signature on every single ballot envelope against a signature on file from when that voter registered and showed us an ID, to being run by all bipartisan teams of judges who are background checked by the FBI, to having watchers from campaigns come in from any campaign and be able to see the process up close, to having machines that are never connected to the internet. Our security is robust here in Colorado, and I think we should all feel very good that our elections are secure, and they have been. We're using the same model that we've been using for a very long time. So given that context, you should vote, and here's how you do it. We are going to mail ballots in a week and a half to everyone, to all registered voters in Jefferson County. That's Friday, October 9th, they're going out. You'll get them 5 to 8 days after that. On Monday the 19th, we're opening all of our in-person vote centers. On Monday, October 26th, it's the last day that we recommend mailing the ballot back to us if you want to return it by mail. It's also the last day that you can update your info and have us mail a ballot out to you. And then, of course, you can still turn that ballot in by Dropbox or by coming into an in-person vote center. Those are open through Election Day, Tuesday, November 3rd at 7 until 7 to get those ballots into drop boxes. So with those key dates in mind, what we all can do to make sure that we feel good about the system and that our votes are counted. First is right now, update your info. Go to votejeffco.com, click on voter registration, update your info so that when we mail ballots in a week and a half, they go to the right address, because those do not forward for security reasons. And so you want to make sure if you've moved recently or anything's changed, you update your information. You can track your ballot, get an alert from us when we mail it to you so you know it's coming, and an alert from us when we get it back from you so you can rest easy. Votejeffco.com, click on track your ballot. You'll be able to find that. You can read more about all the election security stuff I just shared, and bipartisan experts saying what I said. If you don't believe me, go to votejeffco.com and click on election information and can find all of that. And then finally, vote. Vote early if you can. It helps you have peace of mind. It helps us process ballots faster and get your results faster. But whenever you vote, you've got until 7 p.m. on November 3rd, so please vote. Thank you so much. Thanks for giving me the time today, and happy voting, everyone.
Thank you, George. I think that made everybody feel a little bit better about that question. So next we have Commissioner Leslie Dahlkemper, and she's just going to give an update on the Jefferson County Commissioners and Jefferson County, I think, as a whole. Leslie.
Great. Thanks so much, Shirley. Great to see everyone. I hope you're doing well. I'm Jeffco Commissioner Leslie Dahlkemper, and I have the privilege of representing Conifer on the Board of County Commissioners. And I thought tonight I'd focus on three key areas: COVID-19, the county budget, and wildfires, which of course is an issue that's top of mind for all of us. First, on COVID-19, I cannot thank you on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners enough for all the work that you are doing to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. You know, not too long ago, our variance from the state was at risk because our COVID-19 cases were on the rise. And as you know, that variance is key to our economic recovery here in Jefferson County. Fortunately, with your help, we were able to lower our case count and we held on to our variance. That's the good news. The bad news is we're not quite out of the woods yet, and we still need your help. Dr. Johnson, who heads Jeffco Public Health, expressed concern to the county commissioners about a possible uptick in COVID-19 cases. This was right before the Labor Day weekend and as schools were starting, and we were concerned that that combination would result in an uptick. Unfortunately, his earlier concerns are now a trend, according to the most recent data that we received earlier this week, Monday, in fact. So we're seeing an increase in both cases and in hospitalizations. The 2-week case count from September 9th to the 20th was 429 cases. And in order to move to the Protect Our Neighbors phase, you heard Interim Superintendent Hsu talk about that a little earlier, we have to get those numbers back down. We encourage you to look at our website for regular updates at www.jeffco.us, and then just click on the COVID-19 banner across the top. On a related note, also wanted to talk with you about CARES Act dollars. As you know, the county received $107 million from the federal government to help us with COVID-19 response and recovery. And we set aside nearly $40 million to provide assistance to the Jeffco community. That includes $2.5 million for our nonprofits, $5 million for grants to small businesses, as well as dollars to our chambers of commerce, nearly $1 million in food programs, and even dollars set aside for Jeffco schools for those summer grab-and-go meals as well. We know many businesses are struggling, and we're now looking at more grants to home-based businesses, as well as businesses that have been hit especially hard by this pandemic. On a positive note, one business owner we've heard from is Delane, and some of you may know Delane because she runs a hair salon in Conifer, and she let us know that the business grant she received from the county will go a long way in keeping her businesses open, not only for herself, but for her 11 employees. But we know that we still have a lot of work to do, and I need to take a moment and give a huge shout out to your Conifer Chamber Director, Melanie Swearingen, who is our eyes and ears on the ground. She's our eyes and ears on the ground. She is an incredible advocate for you, and we're so grateful that she and our other chamber presidents serve on our economic task force. They help design and influence the shape of these grants. They really let us know how best to leverage those dollars that we've received in CARES Act money. We've also set aside dollars for our local nonprofits like MRC and ECHO, and providing rental and mortgage assistance, bulk food purchases, and more. And every Friday, Commissioner Tai, Senator Story, and I also join the Jeffco Integrated Food Task Force meeting to hear directly from food banks and also to talk more about how we can best support them. So huge thanks to all of our nonprofits for the great work that you're doing. For more information on those grants I mentioned, you can go to www.jeffco.us/4057. I think I've got about a minute and a half left. I know Shirley will give me a cue. I've got the timer here as well. But let me also mention briefly our budget challenges. Last year, as you know, we cut $16.1 million from the 2020 budget. We're now looking at $8.8 million in budget reductions for 2021. This includes the elimination of mediation services, reducing or delaying projects in our facilities master plan, reducing the county's investment in the CSU extension program, and more. Now, our cities are facing drops in sales tax revenue due to COVID-19. The county will experience impacts later as we look at our primary source of funding, which is property taxes. Like many local governments, we're monitoring what happens with property assessments due to the pandemic and also the impact of Gallagher on the budget. We had some pretty sobering projections related to Gallagher showing a possible dramatic reduction in statewide residential assessment rates, which would affect property tax revenue for local governments on a large scale. And preliminary forecasts indicate a loss of about $29 million to Jefferson County in 2022. So we will absolutely keep you in the loop. We expect the mill levies for the library, we heard from Jessica a little bit earlier, and the developmentally disabled fund will likely feel the impact the most. So we will keep an eye on that. We encourage you to join us for our budget hearing with the county commissioners on October 13th. You can go to jeffco.us for more information. And wrapping up with the Wildfire Reduction Task Force, huge round of applause to everyone serving on that task force. They've been so hard at work, as you heard Heather mention a little bit earlier, finalizing recommendations in 3 categories: mitigation, community education, and revenue streams. And the co-chairs of these working groups, one of whom is your own Chief Ware, along with other task force members like Chief Sherlock and Shirley Johnson, will share recommendations with the Board of County Commissioners on November 10th. Thanks so much for listening. I wish we were with you in person, but thanks again to the Conifer Area Council for offering this forum. You can email me at ldalkem@jeffco.us if you have any questions. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Leslie. We enjoy your presentation as always. And next we have Senator Tammy Story to give a little bit of an update on the Colorado State Senate. Tammy.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Shirley Johnson and Conifer Area Council for pulling together this virtual opportunity so we can share with folks in the Conifer area. My name is Tammy Story, and I'm the state senator who represents Senate District 16, which includes the foothills of Jeffco, southern Boulder County, all of Gilpin County, and the southwest corner of Denver County. A typical legislative session runs from early January until early May. This year was a little different, just like every other element of our lives since mid-March. And for a very brief recap of the 2020 session, we went on recess in mid-March due to the impacts and health risks of COVID-19. We returned to session 10 weeks later and wrapped up the session in mid-June. As we prepared to return to session in May, it was very apparent that many bills that were in the pipeline needed to be set aside, and many new bills were needed to address the current healthcare crisis and the economic crisis. Additionally, we had to cut $3.3 billion from our state budget due to revenue shortfalls. This was equivalent to about 25% of our general fund budget. Really tough decisions had to be made. Among some of the bills that I sponsored were a few focused on early childhood education and childcare, because we already had an extreme shortage of childcare centers across the state pre-COVID. These bills provide more opportunities for early childhood educators to receive support and training, and more opportunities for childcare centers in communities with homeowner associations. These new statutes are already resulting in benefits for Coloradans who work in the field of early childhood education or have children that need licensed childcare so they can get back to work. With the skyrocketing job loss of about 350,000 people across Colorado due to the coronavirus, it resulted in scores of Coloradans struggling to pay their rent, mortgages, groceries, and utilities. I sponsored in the Senate and partnered in the House with Rep. Cutter on a bill utilizing federal CARES funding to provide energy utility assistance to families in Colorado. We allocated $4.8 million to fund this assistance program. We know this is going to really help families as the weather turns colder and they're making tough decisions about whether to buy groceries or pay their energy utility bill. To learn more, you can contact Energy Outreach Colorado. I also sponsored a bill to assist the class of 2021 Colorado high school graduates in their college admission process. This new statute makes the requirement of national test scores optional for admission to Colorado state colleges and universities, where national test scores are typically required. Another bill signed into law this past session that Rep. Cutter and I partnered on was an extension of numerous checkoff boxes on Colorado tax returns. These voluntary donation options bring in tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars of operating expenses for these named nonprofits: the American Red Cross Colorado Fund, Colorado Domestic Abuse Program Fund, Habitat for Humanity of Colorado Fund, Pet Overpopulation Fund, and Special Olympics Colorado Fund. For those of you who contribute, these nonprofits are exceptionally grateful for your support. There are many other bills of mine that were signed into law and a couple more that Rep. Cutter and I partnered on that she will share about in a minute. In other news, you might have guessed, November's election is just around the corner, as was mentioned by our clerk and recorder, George Stern. Please exercise due diligence in preparing for voting. There are a significant number of ballot initiatives this year. Intentionally, be an informed voter. And please know that I'm truly honored to represent you and your neighbors as Senate District 16. Please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or concerns. You can find my contact information on the Colorado General Assembly website. I'm Senator Tammy Story, and it is my pleasure to serve you.
Thank you, Tammy. We appreciate that so much, and everything you've been doing. That's great. And our last speaker tonight is Representative Lisa Cutter, and she's going to be talking a little bit more about the state representatives. Lisa.
Thank you so much, Shirley, and the Conifer Area Council for hosting this. It's great to be here. I wish it was in person. I miss people, but you're all people. But anyway, I miss being in person. So Senator Story set that out really well, a little bit about the session. Obviously, it was a strange time, and everything was turned upside down in terms of the priorities and what we were going to be able to pursue. And as it should be, we ended up setting aside a lot of legislation that I know Senator Story had been working on, that I'd been working on, things we felt were important, but it was more important to deal with the pandemic and deal with the, results of that. And so we ended up passing quite a bit of legislation to directly help people and use those care dollars. And thank you, Senator Story, for mentioning that we get a partner on a lot of cool things. So we partnered on a few, as she mentioned. The other ones I wanted to highlight, Senator Story and I both worked on a bill that to food pantry assistance grant program. And it was to provide funding to food pantries throughout the state, which have been overwhelmed really with the pandemic and the increased demand. And it'll allow food pantries to better serve the needs of their community and create market opportunities for Colorado farmers, because it's requiring that the food purchased with grant money be grown right here in Colorado. And that was almost $500,000. So that was, and will benefit our local food pantries. So we were excited about that. The next one is the Climber Act, and that was a business bill to provide $250 million in small business recovery loans using a combination of public and private funding. And businesses will be able to obtain below market rate loans of $30,000 to $500,000. That's for businesses between 5 and 100 employees. So it's getting not all the tiny businesses in the mountain areas, but it's getting a lot of the smaller businesses in Colorado. And it'll be allocated by county. So they'll be distributed throughout Colorado and allocated by county. So that hopefully will be able to help a lot of businesses. We also worked on a bill to create recycling end markets. And Senator Story also worked on that bill, which will provide tax incentives for recycling businesses and create a development center to research and support the development of end market recycling businesses right here in Colorado. We do a really bad job of recycling, way below the national rate. And we think this is an economic opportunity, not only an opportunity to create a greener Colorado, but an opportunity for us to create jobs and industry around this. So, and part of that will also be educating people about recycling and what they need to do and how they need to do it, because it can be confusing, I think. So really excited about that, being able to do both of those things. Also did a lot of work on wildlife mitigation bills. I really, really appreciate Chief Ware and Sherlaw and all the great work done by Commissioner Dahlkemper and the task force. That's incredibly important, top of mind. I plan on working on this issue more. Those bills had to get set aside because of COVID, but certainly worth pursuing. We need to do all we can to provide resources to our wildlands firefighters and mitigate to the degree that we can, and help prevent some of these terrible scenarios that are happening all throughout the Western United States. And I also just want to give a shout out to the chambers, to Melanie Swearingen and Betsy up in Evergreen, Betsy Hayes too. We did a lot of work together during the pandemic and trying to help people and provide the resources they need. And they were just an inspiration, the way they dug in and worked with community. And it was just an honor to be able to work with them. So I'll just quickly give you my email. If anyone has any lingering issues, our office can help with anything related to the pandemic or not related to the pandemic. Please email lisa.cutter.colorado@gmail.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lisa, and all of our speakers tonight. You know, even with everything unimaginable happening to our country and the world, there is still so much to report about what's going on in the Conifer community, and so much to be thankful for. I thank God every day that I live up here. So please tell your friends, your family, neighbors, everyone to go to coniferareacouncil.org and watch this very important virtual town hall meeting and find out what's going on out here. And I'd like to do one last shout out to Grant Automotive for their community support of tonight's town hall meeting. Thank you to everyone.